Oh, Brett's not. Oh, no, she doesn't.
Recording in progress.
Is that only turn over voices?
The regular meeting of the Rio Dell City Council. Roll call, please.
Mayor Norris?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carter?
Here.
Councilmember Orr?
Here.
Councilmember Wilson?
Here.
Councilmember Woodall?
Here. And today we will, I just wanted the announcement that there's nothing to report out of closed session. Now we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public presentations. This is the time for persons who wish to address the council on any matter not on this agenda and over which the council has jurisdiction. As such, a dialogue with the council or staff is not allowed under the Ralph M. Brown Act. Items requiring council actions not listed on this agenda may be placed on the next regular agenda for consideration if the council directs, unless a finding is made by at least 2/3 of the council that the item came up after the agenda was posted and is of an urgency nature requiring immediate action. Please limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Anything? Come on in.
Need to come up here.
Yeah, please. Welcome. Happy New Year.
Well, happy New Year to you, all of you.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Ward. As all of you, I'm sure know, I have the auto repair shop at 23 Center. And there's been issues about parking for quite some time. Years ago, when the street was reworked, there is a section that I believe is owned by the city that's about 5 feet wide between the trailer park across the street and the sidewalk. I mentioned it back then, that why don't they put the sidewalk over there that will widen the street? It would take care of a lot of problems. It didn't get done then, and I wanted to bring it to the city council's attention that maybe that's something that could be taken care of. That would probably help alleviate some of the problems that we're having for parking and egress and all for the school.
What street is it on?
Center.
Center.
Yeah.
There we go. This side of the freeway or on the other side?
On this side. It's
Just past Wildwood?
Yeah.
Just east.
right off of Wildwood, yes. So I guess north, yeah, it's kind of right straight across the street from the shop. And it's been no man's land for forever. People across the street plant things in it during the planting season and nobody takes care of it. The city doesn't do anything with it. I've done a lot of things through the years and they do that right now, but I was wanting to make the recognition to the city that maybe they need to look into that. Since the city owns it, I've talked to the gal that owns the trailer park and she said that belongs to the city. So she's of the opinion it's yours. So just wanted to bring it up because that would be something that would probably help a whole bunch, making the street 5 feet wider. Help parking, help with all kinds of things.
Sure.
That's it.
Well, thank you very much for that, because I didn't know that.
I didn't know it.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you for your
now we
time.
know. Thank you. Public comment?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Welcome. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I apologize for running in late and You never think we have traffic around here, but even in Humboldt County, there's traffic. Folks, I'm Allison Talbot. I'm your local government relations, Mr. Wilson, hello, representative for PG&E. I cover Humboldt and Mendocino counties. I live in Eureka. Feel very fortunate to have a positive working relationship with Rio Dell city staff, the city manager. But I wanted to make you aware that I'm here. If you need anything, you can reach out to me directly or through the city manager, whether that's, for your constituents or a larger regional concern. Just wanted to remind you, I am available. The city manager has my contact info, cell phone and email anytime. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And I hope you have a great year. Thank you.
All right, too. There any emails or hands raised? No. Okay, then we will close public comment and move to the consent calendar. Is there any item that a council member wishes to remove? No? Any one? No? Okay, then I will ask for a motion. Any emails or hand raised? No? Okay.
I so
Thank you. There's a motion. Is there a second?
second.
We have a motion and second. Vote. Consent calendar is approved 5-0. Move on to page 31 in our packets, the city manager and staff updates. City managers.
Thank you, Mayor Dorrance and members of the council. So tomorrow at 3 p.m. here at City Hall will be the Nuisance Advisory Committee meeting. It's scheduled monthly. Again, that'll be tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And then on Thursday at 4 p.m. will be the traffic committee is also scheduled. These are both public meetings and the public is encouraged to attend. With that, I will go ahead and return to the council, see if there's any questions of staff from the report.
Thank you, city manager. Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions. As always, I just want to thank city staff for the hard work that you guys do on a daily basis and just, everything, all the effort and energy that goes into making Rio Dell what it is. Thank you for that.
Councilmember Orr?
No question.
What else?
Yes, Chief. How are things going?
Well, we're waiting on our new chief. It's me and John. We're working a lot of hours, pulling these shifts, training a new guy. So
How long has the new guy been here now?
like a month,
About a month?
6 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wilson? And I have no questions. Again, I would reiterate what Mayor Pro Tem and thank staff down there. Thank you both. Thank you, Spree, and thank you, Kyle, and even the people who aren't here. I thank them too. Okay. So we will close that item and move on to the hazard mitigation plan. Discussion and review, page 35 in our packet, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. So the Humboldt County Hazard Mitigation Planning process is underway to conduct a 5-year update. Mitigation planning is the systemic process of learning about hazards that can affect the community, setting goals and identifying the appropriate actions, and follow through for an effective mitigation strategy. So mitigation encourages long-term reduction of hazard vulnerability and can reduce the enormous cost of disasters to property owners and all levels of government. Mitigation can also protect critical community facilities, reduce exposure to liability, and minimize post-disaster community disruption. So the county and the city last updated this hazard mitigation plan in 2020. The current anticipated submittal of the 5-year update is scheduled before the close of May of this year. So this will be the third update to the plan since its inception in 2014 and includes a broad array of public agencies in Humboldt County. So staff is going to review the attached status of previous actions and 2020 action plan matrix, and comments or questions are welcome during the review. Staff won't have necessarily all the answers to any questions, but closer to May, the council will review the plan once again and adopt it for the formal adoption. So once the hazard mitigation plan is adopted by all of the jurisdictional partners and approved by FEMA, the partnership will collectively and individually become eligible to apply for hazard mitigation project funding, the main one being the hazard mitigation grant program. And again, these are focused on long-term hazard mitigation projects. So through this process, the city has obtained a HMGP grant for a new seismically resilient water line connecting Metropolitan and Metropolitan Wells that serve as the city's backup water supply. So that grant is currently concluding phase one, is awaiting approval from FEMA to move to phase two. Some of the challenges associated with these grants that are important to note include that they often carry a 25% local match requirement, which can be very disadvantageous to small rural communities with the dollar size of many of these projects. However, the volume of available dollars for mitigation efforts is expected to continue to be very high well into the near future. As typically when a disaster is declared, there is a set aside of a certain percentage of the federal government puts aside for hazard mitigation activities. So as the number of disasters mounts as every year, seems like there's a significant high dollar value disasters. The fund available for mitigation projects equally increases. So that's something to be aware of. The hazard mitigation planning is considered a living document. As such, that awareness of additional hazards develops over time, and new strategies and projects are conceived to offset or prevent losses due to natural disasters. And it's evaluated again on a revised on a continual 5-year period. It's important to note, like if a project is not on this list, it's not, we don't have to come up with every conceivable project, and we can add to this. This is kind of just a step that FEMA requires us to go through to do this evaluation and just have the conversation about what we see in the community. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick screen share so folks at home can see this, and hopefully it pops up on the screen. There we go. So attached on your agenda and beginning on page 37, we have a list of about 46 items to go through, and we can either focus on the ones that maybe the council identified before. We can go individually through each one. So I think we'll just go individually through each one and just starting from the top and moving down. So some of the, again, these are ideas that some of them may be applicable for hazard mitigation funding, some of them may not. So RD number 1, again, this is a holdover from an older plan, talks about improving wastewater collection system, mains, laterals, and manholes. And unfortunately, for most of the disaster mitigation funding, you're not going to see available funding for sewer systems. The failure of a wastewater collection system is not necessarily the highest priority. However, the failure of a water system would be in a disaster. So RD2 also covers wastewater lift stations. RD3 talks about Painter Street to Highway 101 drainage ditch repair, increasing the capacity there. Number 4 talks about Center Street to Painter Street culvert improvements. Again, both of these are typically going to be very difficult to provide a grant application that also has to include a cost benefit analysis for it. So if you're talking about really specific neighborhood issues or street issues or older infrastructure that has not been maintained, typically HMGP is not going to be a good source of funding for this. RD5 includes the City Hall, and RD6 includes the City Hall seismic retrofit, Fireman's Hall seismic retrofit. Those were completed following the 1992 earthquakes. RD7 talks about city standby power generation. And so in the past, and this is one of the changes to my understanding to the current grant applications processes, in the past, in the last cycle 5 years ago, backup generators were not an allowable HMGP expense. My understanding is that has changed. However, since then, City Hall has, for example, more redundant power source. We have backup batteries as well as a generator not funded through HMGP or the federal government. So fire sprinkler installation at City Hall, RD8, and Fireman's Hall was another one listed in a past report. To date, those have not occurred. RD9, construct a retaining wall on the road to Dinsmore. I'm going to assume that this means the Dinsmore Plateau. And as the council is aware, in 2017, that road did fail and has been quite the struggle to get FEMA to fund the repairs for that. But that was a potential hazard mitigation grant project. RD10 would be designating, preparing, and announcing emergency assembly points throughout the city. 11 would be the adoption of a long-term capital improvement plan, which provides the city financial capability to fund capital projects that include hazard mitigation projects. That's always going to be a really difficult one to do in a financially constrained city. RD12, improve hillside stability and landslide prone areas. Again, very difficult to achieve, particularly most of these areas are privately owned, private property. Prepare a RD13, prepare a post-disaster recovery plan. Out of necessity, out of the 22 earthquake, we had to also prepare similar material for the long-term recovery plan for the city of Rio Dell in conjunction with our partners in the nonprofit area and the County of Humboldt's Office of Emergency Services. RD14 was install emergency water interties with Scotia. And so that was a project from approximately 2013 or so. At the time, the town of Scotia was not a willing partner, and so the city ended up developing the Metropolitan Well site as the emergency backup water supply. Number 15, work with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association to attain the certification storm ready and tsunami ready. I don't believe that has occurred. And again, what we're looking for is the ability to pull and leverage grant funding through this list to achieve some of these options. Number 16 would be to improve alternative communication capabilities throughout the city, including acquisition licensing for ham radios, satellite telephones, mobile backup dispatch devices, and other communication devices. So the city's general fund has picked up the cost for Nixle, the emergency broadcast cell phone system, and then also the city picked up a Starlink satellites connectivity system, which was last used just a month or two ago with our shaker from a couple months ago when the internet did go down. Number 17, adopt an updated emergency response plan. So staff have been looking for a consultant to work with the city on that. We weren't able to find one, but what staff has been able to do is work on updating our emergency response plan in-house. We do have a draft of that that still needs some work to be done. And then circulated with the fire department and other agencies to have their input provided to it. So that is in process. Again, funded by HMGP or the federal government. RD 18 is updating city land use codes for seismic setback, structural requirements, and hillside development standards. So the open space and conservation element requires a geologic report for any hillside development or slopes exceeding 15%. 19 would be to promote formation of community emergency response teams and neighborhood business emergency response teams throughout the city of Rio Dell. And I know that the mayor and the fire department and a bunch of other volunteers have been working on setting that group up. And so there's been a lot of progress, particularly on that. Again, not grant funded. Number 20, updating flood plain mapping. This is something that the floodplain mapping has been kind of well covered. And the city works with the flood insurance rate maps and whatnot to make sure that the zones and all that stuff is really clear for developers and for residents in the city. Number 21, which would be to maintain the NIMS, National Incident Management System, state emergency system, and incident command system training for city staff. So that's kind of an ongoing thing when we have training available. There's usually a lot of training that goes on that's free to attend locally here. Number 22 would be to support and participate in the Rogue Coast Tsunami Working Group and other hazard mitigation groups in the region. You know, the city has been working periodically with community organizations active in disaster and some of the other groups. For specifically the Tsunami Working Group, you know, the city will always, you know, keep tabs on that one, but technically speaking, Rio Dell is outside of the tsunami hazard zone. 23, develop a focused storm drainage facility plan. So this is a big one that, you know, potentially federal funding could be leveraged to assist with. One of the utilities in your city is functionally stormwater, and there is no funding source for stormwater. So essentially, no fees are charged for new development related to stormwater facilities. New developments are required to install those facilities, but there is no active ongoing funding source to monitor or maintain the stormwater system. And there's only very loose mapping associated with stormwater drainage facility plans. That's very common, particularly amongst the smaller cities, but it is one of these areas that eventually, when a section of it fails, it falls basically to the general fund to pick up the repair costs for drainage facilities. RD 24, increase fuel storage capacity and supply within the city, including wastewater treatment facilities and water facilities. So this is difficult for us to do just because the courtyard is not really an appropriate location for additional fuel storage. There is fuel storage there for the generator, but adding to that is problematic. And so in the past, when we have lost power for extended periods of time, we've had to really reach out to fuel vendors to make sure that those trucks are headed in Rio Dell's way. We have also at one point had to ferry fuel and 5-gallon jerry cans just as a backup plan if the power did not go back on. Since then, we've also been able to add the Tesla power system backup, which adds some level of additional time to our corporation yard for response to those issues. But it's always kind of a finicky response that's, you know, hopefully we don't have power outages that extend beyond about 48 hours. Number 25, and this is another one that's kind of difficult to do. Consider obtaining formal agreements with Shell and the fire district for priority fueling. with the private entity, that's not always easy to do. And then they also, when, for example, the Shell, which is now a Chevron, does not have a backup power source. So when the power goes out, the pumps also stop functioning there at that facility. Number 26 would be to determine whether any agreement exists with Scotia for the sharing of fuel or water in the event of an emergency. So 5 years ago, the Scotia Community Services District was still sort of forming, and it's getting to be a more robust formal organization. And so that might be an avenue for the city to create partnerships in terms of disaster response. The Town of Scotia, of course, is an LLC, a limited liability partnership that was not typically historically willing to work with the city on various projects. So number 27, which was to maintain and update the city's energy assurance plan by implementing energy assurance plan action projects. So this would be backup generators, fuel storage, that sort of thing. Again, the city has obtained some grants through the state to update the power backup resiliency here at City Hall. All of our lift stations also through that same grant at no cost to ratepayers received new generator systems for backup on those lift stations. We also, through other grants, obtained a mobile power generator for the backup well system. So there's been a tremendous amount of improvements in terms of backup power supplies over the past few years. So number 28, determine city's water supply in the event of long-term energy disruption, setting priority lists for water distribution. If the city needed to do that and select certain areas for town for shut off in the event of a catastrophic long-term water emergency, we are engaging in the capital improvement plan project with the water system to replace a lot of the valves and that sort of thing. So it would be more theoretically possible to shut down sections of town if needed because of line breakages or whatnot. Number 29, determine refrigeration capacity, local markets, and evaluate requirements to maintain functionality in the event of an energy disruption. Again, something that's not likely to be funded through FEMA for some sort of public-private partnership on refrigeration. Number 30, determine fuel tank size and operation costs of new infiltration gallery backup generator. So that backup generator or requirement can be powered by the mobile generator I mentioned a couple minutes ago for the well site. Number 31, coordinate with fire district to determine backup fuel supplies. Some of these are really redundant between the plans from the prior plans and obtain necessary storage. Kind of redundant. Number 32, determine and obtain a properly sized backup power supply for the police department. Again, accomplished. These will go into our new update as to what's been accomplished and what is still pending. Number 33, coordinate with the county in Ferndale to stabilize Blue Slate Road, road service from Ferndale to Rio Dell. Certainly, potentially with the county's Measure O passage, the county would obviously be the main partner in that particular project. Obviously, with the lane miles being significantly more than either in Fortuna or in Rio Dell, but that is an important back channel road to, particularly for Ferndale, should the bridge go out. Number 34, coordinating with the county to stabilize landslides into the Eel River upstream of the city's freshwater infiltration gallery. That's a very difficult, very expensive prospect to stabilize that system. Number 35, incorporate the hazard mitigation as part of the general plan safety element. and make sure that the safety element of the general plan provides the city with the capability to regulate future land uses in areas impacted by all hazards of concern identified by this plan. So I believe that's already been implemented. So we now move on to the next table, which is the hazard mitigation action plan matrix. So this is what was added in the last round as sort of the focus. And so number one on the list is so where appropriate to support the retrofitting, purchase, and relocation of structures located in hazard zone areas. And prioritize those that have experienced repetitive losses and are located in higher medium risk hazard areas. Today we do not have a project like that. However, for example, at our well sites, the electronics and whatnot were constructed above the floodplain level. To help minimize the impact in a major event. Rio action number 2, which would be integrate the hazard mitigation plan into other plans, ordinances, and programs that dictate land use decisions in the community, including the city's safety elements. I believe that that's been done. Rio Dell number 3, actively participate in plan maintenance protocols outlined in volume 1 of the hazard mitigation plan. Hence why we are doing this right now to cover these items. Number 4, continue to maintain good standing compliance under the National Flood Insurance Program through the implementation of floodplain management programs that at a minimum meet those base standards. I believe that we do that. We'll be verifying that to make sure. Number 5, identify and pursue strategies to increase adaptive capacity to climate change, including but not limited to participation in the regional climate action plan, which the city has been involved in that process from the very beginning. And I believe something will be coming to the council before the close of this year regarding that. Number 6, purchase generators for critical facilities and infrastructure that lack adequate backup power. Fire and school facilities are specifically mentioned unless the city hopes to install an emergency generator for City Hall and whatnot. Of course, fire districts and the city and the school district are separate entities. So far, again, those backup power supplies have been funded through separate grants, primarily when we have the public safety power shutoffs. The city was able to obtain, I believe, about $500,000 in grants for the generators and the City Hall upgrade. Number 7, planning and upgrade radio equipment to the towers and interoperable P25 infrastructure with the city and the fire district. That's something we need to look into to make sure that the base infrastructure that we have is adequate. But there have been a number of investments in the police department related to upgrades of their radio system here. And then number 8, retrofit and installation of undersized culverts, drainages to prevent flooding, erosion, landslide damage. Again, potentially some grants that the city could access through the federal government with a 25% cost share. But most of these have been covered under utilizing existing road maintenance funds and general fund for road support. And then again, prioritizing installation of fire sprinklers at City Hall and the fire station. Again, very expensive prospect to do. This building in particular, I think before that would occur, we would want to take a look at really long-term strategy of what to do specifically with this building, since it has certain deficiencies that are expensive to fix. And so just installing fire sprinklers when we may have to then turn around and tear them out is perhaps not the best use of limited funding. And then number 10, which is public education and outreach, and the city tries to participate in that process as much as possible. through the newsletters and whatnot, going out to the public to remind people to be prepared at all times for significant, all of the various significant hazards that Rio Dell faces. And then finally, Rio Dell 11, which is a joint public safety dispatch and emergency operations center. This is really something that the city would love to participate in. We believe that it's a highly value added to have centralized public safety dispatch, and that the county needs a permanent new emergency operations center. The current one is really a legacy of the Cold War in the 1960s and whatnot. But the city already contracts out for dispatch services with the city of Fortuna. And we have always signaled to the county or to Fortuna that we would support a more regional effort of others signing on to a more centralized dispatch system. That's been a known priority really since the late 1990s of getting all of the different emergency services on a singular dispatch, because right now there's cross connections between the county of Humboldt and Fortuna dispatch that can add seconds or minutes to a response that isn't really necessary and not very efficient. So with that, those are the lists from the hazard mitigation plan. We'll be working with the county. We're already participating in the process to do the update for this plan. Again, it will be coming back to the council for formal adoption. But now is a good time if there's any other ideas that the council may have or members of the public may have. I will say that one concept that has already been brought up is again, working with the Scotia Community Services District. They have the newest gym type facility, presumably up to the modern seismic standards, and the council will recall in 22 that there was really nowhere locally within the Rio Dell Scotia area to set up an emergency shelter during that earthquake. So one had to be set up in Fortuna. And so having those discussions and potentially a formal agreement might be beneficial for area responses and disasters in the future. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back to the council. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you for the report. It was a lot that I just thought to really even get to a question, but I will.
I will make the comment that I do think that there's maybe more hope from Scotia CSD moving forward, especially considering 22, 23. And yeah, I do think that's a good idea, but that gym is probably the only place that we could conceivably have some kind of shelter. So I would like to pursue that. Last comment is that I am always going to prioritize the underground infrastructure when it comes to stuff like this. I think that is really, I can do without power, but boy, you don't have water for a couple of days, it's bad. So, if given the choice, I would always prioritize water and wastewater. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Woodall.
No, I came in and talked to Kyle earlier today, but thank you for going over it point by point because you answered some questions I didn't have this morning. So thank you.
Councilmember Orr. Councilmember Wilson.
I agree with Councilmember Carter. Water is a pretty big deal. It's all a big deal. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get a lot of help from the state. Or anybody, because we're just not, but they're going to have a button on the deal. I thank you for taking us aware of all the items that we got to look out for. Thank you.
And I agree with the Scotia comments, and I don't know, and I would say the state certainly did more for us than the Fed, because the Fed didn't do anything really strong. So we want to, acknowledge that. But I don't. Is this something that when you get closer to May and that we could have an actual a study session versus just a and not a study session, but where we can sit and talk about it and maybe kind of scratch your heads and, or even before that, versus just having kind of random questions. So, something that we can do maybe.
I would like that.
I think that's a great idea, because I was gonna say, can we be thinking about it, and so if we wanted to add more.
So, that, and are there any questions? Oh, Mike, did you have any questions? You're the only person out there. Are any hands raised or any emails? No. Staff, any questions? Okay. And so this was just the review, correct? And provide comments.
Correct.
There you have it. So we will close this item. Thank you very much for that. And move on to the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 410-2025, amending section 8.35.0.40 of the Rio Dell Municipal Code pertaining to requirements for commercial edible food generators to include authority for the County of Humboldt Division of Environmental Health to charge fees for the service. Page 41 in our packets, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. So SB 1383, which is California's short-lived climate pollutant bill, aims to reduce methane emissions from the landfill and rescue 20% of edible food statewide. So the state mandate requires that cities adopt an enforceable ordinance to implement 1383 requirements locally. So the city has exemptions from many of the requirements from 1383, but not all of them. So ordinance 395 was adopted in 22 to meet the requirements of 1383. The law requires edible food generators to be inspected annually by the responsible jurisdiction. In this case, the city of Rio Dell within the city limits. However, the city lacks the staff and subject matter expertise to conduct such inspections. Additionally, the County of Humboldt and regionally, all of the stakeholders and partners in this process are proposing to engage in an MOU with the County of Humboldt Division of Environmental Health to conduct these inspections on behalf of not just Rio Dell, but all of the cities. The county is offering these services to all of the incorporated jurisdictions within the county, and staff anticipates the other cities will be engaging in a similar MOU. So this ordinance 410 authorizes the County of Humboldt Division of Environmental Health to require edible food generators to register with the county and allow the county to assess and collect fees for the program. The Division of Environmental Health is funded by and provides these services through fee assessments. So edible food generators are defined in the municipal code as required by the state as certain business types that handle food and are therefore required to donate excess edible food fit for human consumption, and the inspection verifies that they are in compliance with that. Now, at this point in time, there is only one edible food generator within the city of Rio Dell that meets the state's criteria for required inspection under the law, and that would be the school district. Should be a relatively simple, straightforward inspection, but again, it is required by the state. And then part of the reason we want to get this ordinance set up is that potentially in the future down the road, there could be a business type that enters the city of Rio Dell that meets those requirements, or the state changes the requirements. And, so for example, the size limit for a facility is 10,000 square feet. It's possible they could amend that and lower the square footage and include several other businesses in the community into the category. And so this is just the first step, and there will be an MOU that will be coming to the council at some point in the near future for adoption, for the formal adoption for Humboldt County Division of Environmental Health to conduct the inspections. So with that, staff is recommending, now that you've received the staff presentation on the item, to open and receive any public comment, to then close the public comment, deliberate and direct staff to make any changes to the draft ordinance if necessary, and continue the item to the second reading and adoption of the ordinance for the February 4th, 2025 regularly scheduled city council meeting.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions from council?
Just out of curiosity, I'm always a little leery when something says charge fees but doesn't list fees.
I was gonna ask how much the fee was and who collects it, us or the county.
Yeah, so I don't know what the fee amount would be, but it would be set, and I'm not even sure it's set by the Board of Supervisors yet, but it would be set by the Board of Supervisors
Okay.
and collected by the county.
That's it.
And well, I'm just curious, would the fee be to the city as we are not doing it, we're contracting with them to do it, or would the fee go to the school?
The fee would be collected by the county and would go to the county.
No, but I mean, who would be paying
Pays the fee.
Would we be paying the fee because we contract with them, or would the business or?
It would be the entity listed under as one of the edible food generators, in this case, the school district.
Okay, and I think you made it clear is the reason the other businesses that are clearly edible food, but they're less than 10,000 square feet, so that's why they are not included.
Yeah, and there's a complex set of criteria to meet
Yeah.
that, and schools are in a whole separate tier 2 formula for what the state sets.
Okay, Mike, any questions? Any hand raised? Any emails? Okay, then is there a motion to approve the first reading and carry it on to the second reading of the meeting of February 4th?
So moved.
You have a motion, is there a second? Second. A motion and a second. Motion carries 5-0. That brings us to the conclusion, and we will now go on to council reports and communications. Councilmember Wilson.
We'll have the RCEA this Thursday, which is the normal meeting, so I can't come. I was gonna come to the what do you call it, or traffic committee, but I won't be able to do that. And I just, while I'm saying this, I mentioned it to somebody earlier, but I don't know who's listening, and the other two people out there are listening to the conversation. It's very disheartening that people don't take concern. They get a packed building when there's something wrong, whether the price of sewer goes up, or we'll probably at some point when we enact some kind of an ordinance, clarification on this thing, we'll probably get a bunch of people. But other than that, there's not a lot of participation from the city members to come down here and contribute solutions. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson. Councilmember Orr?
Just really quickly, went to HCOG last week, still in search of a director, but many strong candidates from what I heard and what they thought they had, so we're moving in the right direction.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, you know, I got stuff. I have a Cal Cities policy meeting this Friday in Sacramento. It is the Transportation, Communication, and Public Works Policy Committee. So I will be representing the city of Rio Dell there. January 27th, I would usually have a REDAC meeting, but it is canceled because there is another important event that I would like to highlight. Supervisor Natalie Arroyo has put in a ton of work over years and years interviewing healthcare providers in this area. And so she is putting on a forum titled the Healthcare Provider Recruitment and Retention in Humboldt County Forum. That is January 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. It is online and in person. It's been in the press, but if you need the to get yourself an in-person ticket or the link or anything, I've got it in my email, so anybody can reach out to me in that. I just really want to thank Supervisor Arroyo for really putting her boots on the ground on such a massive problem facing our whole county. So there's that. Honestly, we had a blood drive down here at the Community Resource Center last week, and I was so proud of the city. We had 22 people show up to donate blood. That's a lot of donated blood. And I was even more proud when I asked what the usual people they get at any given place they set up, and the answer was 6 to 8 people. They got 22 in Rio Dell. And so I extend my thanks to Sarah Rebeck and the whole staff over there for reaching out to them, and to the fire department for setting up shop and barbecuing everybody hot dogs. It doesn't hurt to get a free hot dog with your blood donation. So, and that is it for me. Thank you.
Councilmember Wood. Just, I will mention the meetings tomorrow and on Thursday, the traffic. That was what I was gonna say. And then I went to the Chamber of Commerce meeting last week. It was the week before it had been canceled, and this last week there wasn't a quorum. So we just chit chatted, and that's about it.
Thank you. I have a policy committee meeting, environmental quality, on Friday as well. And I was at a seismic commission meeting last Thursday, and the California Geologic Survey did their annual update. And why I'm bothering to tell you this is because rather than give the update of all of their projects, they focused on the December 5th earthquake and Rio Dell. And because the peak of the earthquake was at the Eel River Bridge, they actually did an animation of in which you can go to the Seismic Commission website, ssc.ca.gov, and see the earthquake and the waveforms that came off of it, and there was Rio Dell. And then the more disturbing part was them showing the bridge in an animation and what happened during the earthquake. And what they showed was the bridge doing this, and it was very disturbing. And I said to them afterwards, that was very disturbing. So, but it is there on the website if you want to look at it. They talk about what type of earthquake it was, probably why it wasn't as damaging is because it was a slip strike, and so there just is a lot of information there about that earthquake, what happened, and how it affected Rio Dell. So, and I asked them if they could remove December from the calendar. They didn't. But they did acknowledge that it was a very active time here in Humboldt County. December is very active. So I think that's about all I have. I want to thank Nick Angela and the CCC and Tracy O'Connell and Shane Wilson for coming out, and I participated as well in taking down the Christmas decorations this past weekend. It was an all-day Saturday thing, and Sunday was relatively short. But, being on that man lift on that bridge is very unnerving. And I was on the bridge holding the lights, and all I could think the entire time was, what I'm gonna do if there's an earthquake. I stood over, I held on to the green thing. I was like, you can't be under the man lift. It was very stressful, but we do what we have to do. So I just wanted to thank them for coming out and helping and getting those decorations down. And I think that's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Meeting adjourned at February 4th, 2025. Thank you, everyone.
Are those just animated?
Yeah, they're. Oh, yeah. No, they're what really happens. It's just. Yeah,